Okay, let's keep going about the protein. And when two amino acids, they want to combine together, one remove OH, one remove H. So together they remove water, so dehydration synthesis. When they remove the water away, they form a covalent bond. But this covalent bond between amino acid and amino acid we call the peptide bond. So peptide bond include the CO group, include NH, and this covalent bond. All these four together we call them peptide bond. So if I ask you peptide bond can only be found in which of the following biomolecule, the answer would be protein between amino acid and amino acid. It's a very unique covalent bond. And proteins are made of amino acid. You put those amino acids together, they are not protein yet. We call them polypeptide. And protein need to be folded to the correct 3D structure. So like the myoglobin, that's the protein in your muscle that carry oxygen. So if you eat a medium rare steak and they have those pink juice, they are not blood, they are myoglobin. And hemoglobin, that's the pigments in your blood and to carry oxygen. So because the color is red, so your blood is red. So all these proteins, they need to maintain its correct 3D structure to perform its function. If you change the structure, you damage the structure, and they won't be able to perform their function. And the way to change the structure called denature. So denature, you can use change the pH or heat, give them temperature, and this is how you cook your food. So when you give them heat, you did not really destroy those amino acids. You just change their structure. So they turn from a 3D to a 1D structure, and their structure changed. And you found, well, their structure completely changed. You can tell it's irreversible. So when you fry the egg won't go back to become a chick. And that's how we destroyed bacteria. And we still, they change their 3D structure, they won't be able to harm you. But we still have the nutrients because the amino acids are still there. They just change the 3D structure. So change the 3D structure of protein called denature. And these slides tell you the amino acids need to be folded to a correct 3D structure to perform its function. And you can change your structure by giving them temperature or change the pH. And once you change the structure, they won't be able to work. And it's called denature. Enzyme is one kind of protein. And last time we talked about the enzymes. Enzymes lower the energy required for the chemical process to happen. So now let's look at the molecular level, how enzymes work. So enzyme does not really change the substrate and the product. They just provide the space. So in your body, your digestive enzymes, their function is provide the space for the substrate to come. And when the substrate comes, they still have the same chemical response, produce a product. So the enzyme never change the substrate, never change the product. They just provide the space for this process to happen much quicker. So they lower the energy for the chemical process lower the energy of the chemical process, and for the chemical process to be able to happen in your body temperature, and that's enzyme. The last one is called the nucleic acid. Nucleic acids are big biomolecules, and two important ones called the DNA and RNA. And their function is carry genetic information. The DNA and RNA, they are made of nucleic acids, and we totally have 5 different kinds of nucleic acids. 4 for DNA, A, T, G, and C. We found the first letter that are always different. So A, T, G, and C. Adenine, thymine, guanine, and cytosine. These 4 are for DNA. For RNA, they use A, U, G, and C. So they are like 75% identical. And this nitrogenous base, this is the nucleic acid, and that's this part. So you have 4 different kinds of nitrogenous base for DNA and 4 of them for RNA. They have a sugar and a phosphate group to combine them together. For DNA, it's double helix. They have 2 strands and they're made of A, T, G, and C. And these 2 strands, they glue together. You see the dashed line, there's the hydrogen bound. So last time when we talked about hydrogen bound, I told you it's a weak bound, but it's pretty normally being used in a biological system because it's a weak bound. We can break it and we can glue them together. So this is like a perfect glue used in a biological system. And also water has a lot of hydrogen bound. And double helix DNA, they combine together, use the hydrogen bound. RNA is a single strand, only one. So they use A, U, G, and C, single strand, that's the RNA. And these slides tell you the structure of the DNA and RNA. And the last molecule we're going to talk about is the energy molecule called ATP. ATP is the molecule in your body used for energy source. Every living cell, your body have trillions of cells. Every living cell uses ATP as an energy source. When you eat, your digestive system cuts the carb into glucose, simple sugar. And when the simple sugars go into your cell gonna turn those glucose into ATP. So eventually that's the ATP keep your cells alive. And these slides show you the ATP structure. It's very similar to the nucleic acid. You have a ribose, that's a sugar, but the nitrogenous base is adenine. And the difference is this part. So it has 1, 2, 3 phosphate group. That's why we call it ATP triphosphate. And this bond between phosphate group, that's the high energy bond. So when we break this bond, energy is released. That's how your cell use the ATP as an energy source. If your cell need to use, say your muscle need to use the ATP, when you contract your muscle, you just break this bond. When they break this bond, the energy is released, so your energy can be used by your cell. And now it only has 2 phosphates, so it becomes ADP. And ADP is a low energy molecule. ATP is a high energy molecule. And after you exercise, your muscle have a lot of ADP. And when you are resting, your muscle is going to use those ADP, turn them back into the high energy molecule, which is ATP. So you could not exercise 24 hours a day, 7 days a week because your energy burned down. So you need a lot of ATP, that's the high energy molecule. And that's the high energy molecule. And when your muscle exercise or any cells need to use the energy, they're going to break this covalent bond. And energy being released by your cell, and it become a low energy molecule. And when you're resting, your cell gonna take those low energy molecule and add the phosphate group, turn them into the high energy molecule, so you can exercise again. And this slide show you the summary of all the biomolecules. We talk about 4 important biomolecules, and the last one is a high energy molecule, that's the ATP.